Good Shabbos, everyone. We begin our service on page 128 in Mishkan Tefillah, our blue prayer book, with Hine Matov, how good it is to be together and how true that is, particularly on this evening. Hine Matov Umanahim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanahim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanahim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov umanahim shevet achim gam yachad. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov umanahim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanahim shevet achim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Tonight is a bit of a paradox for this Temple Emanu-El family, and it's been a painful day. This congregation suddenly faced three passings. Two right now are on the verge of also passing away. So at this moment, I think as a Temple family, we think of the Goldstein family, the Robinson family, and the Goldberg family. I know especially that the Goldstein family and Goldberg family wanted to be with us tonight. As a Temple Emanu-El sacred community, their loss is our loss. And again, we know that they wanted to be here with us tonight. But nevertheless, they know that this night is a celebration for the Whitners, and Chal v'chomer, all the more so, it's a celebration for this incredible Temple Emanu-El family. The night is here that we finally get to install our Angle Cantorial Chair, Robbie Whitner. And we wanted to do this last year, but due to circumstances, we got delayed. So even with the environment around us, the passing of loved ones in this community, it's Shabbat. It's a time to celebrate. It's a time, if we can, to take a break from the morning, to welcome the sweetness and to welcome the joy for tonight. Our rabbis teach us that ein mazel l'Israel, that there's no luck for Israel. We have to make it. We have to strive. But sometimes if we think hard enough, or we sense, or we know something, our rabbis teach us maybe there is a sign. In 2016, I went to Israel on a foreign ministry trip. I was in my third year, second year in San Diego, and I happened to go to Hebrew Union College to celebrate Shabbat with HUC students. I didn't know it then, but that was Cantor Whitner's first year in Israel. Never would I believe that we'd be sharing this bima together in Birmingham, Alabama. But we are. We took a kid, a young man out of New York, to show him how incredible the city is. I came from San Diego, and I thought, this city and people are so much cooler. When we went through the cantorial search, when we met with so many applicants, we learned a lot. We learned a lot about a committee, and Robert Levin and Amy Kessler will speak more to that. But we learned about our strengths, our histories, what will bind us together, what we want to do musically for the future of this congregation, to engage you, to hear you singing, which we just did, and above all, to hear our little kiddos sing in the future. But when we met Cantor Whitner, there's something about him. He's a mensch. He's a Gittim Shema. He's a good soul. And I say about this, I don't say that often, but never have I met someone with such liturgical acumen, his knowledge for sacred Jewish liturgy, his incredible ability to chant Torah. He's a seasoned cantor in these regards. He does it with confidence, but he does it with such joy and compassion. And sometimes you can see us up here together when we both make mistake, we'll both look at each other and smile and notify, it's okay, but the sanctuary is still standing. And when I gave all those sermons about change, I said, we're still here. But nevertheless, I love working with this incredible person, and I think so many of you can acknowledge we have great chemistry together. This night, again, is for the Whitners. It's for this congregational family. We've been through a lot as a society, as a country, and as a congregation of all the changes, but we are here for the future. At this time, I want to acknowledge Robbie's biggest fans, his parents, Amy and Stephen Whitner, his in-laws, this is for you too, Beth and Jack Dorr, and his sister, Allie. And I also think when we have Jewish marriages, we take a time to welcome those who are no longer here, to bring their spiritual essence. And I don't know, when Cantor Whitner came here, he lost both of his grandparents suddenly. So tonight is for Paula and Sheila Klein, and may their memories forever be a blessing. It's for your wonderful wife, Alex, and their Ben Sion, their son of Israel, Jesse. We both have big dreams, we have aspirations, and we have visions. So before we start the service, he is your cantor. He is your leader. He will guide you, he will teach you, he will be there for moments of joy and moments of difficulty. He will show up, and he will envelop himself with love and compassion. The mystical literature of Ben Sirah teaches us a good friend is a tower of strength. To find one is to find a treasure. I found a new friend, which is Robbie Whitner, a treasure, but this congregation found its friend, it's found its voice, and he found our treasure. It's our pleasure to welcome Alex Whitner to the bima as she lights our Shabbat candles.
We now rise for those who are able for our Kiddush. אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וברצבנו בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen and l'chaim. Still nothing in there, it's COVID. But... Okay, so we're doing something a little different because there's so much content. We're just going to breeze one prayer into the next until we get to videos or speakers, so bear with us. We move from Kiddush to Lecha Dodi on page 138. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet ve'lithilah. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'maka Shabbat echila, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, ki ba'orech kumi ori, uri, uri, rise and greet our Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha u'b'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala. Please be seated.
While he was still a student, and he wowed the community. And I can only imagine for you, Temple Emanu-El in Birmingham, Alabama, how happy and honored you are to have him as your cantor. I know that he has spoken already very highly of all of you. One of the things that Cantor Whitner and I have is a mutual love of composer Manuel Kirschner. Cantor Manuel Kirschner lived in Munich, Germany, and much of his music has completely disappeared from the repertoire. This one in particular, Tzadi Katamar from Psalm 92, is probably one of our mutual favorites between the two of us. So, Mazel Tov, Cantor Robbie Whitner. Tzadik Katamar Yifrach Kerez Balevanon Yisgeh Shetulim Beveit Adonai Behatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu. Od Yenuvun B'Seva Dishenim V'Rananim Yiniu Lehagid Ki Ashar Adonai Tzuri Velo Avlata Bo.
Page 144 with our Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal ve'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma tivrach chirutei ve'yamlich malchutei בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב מאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה. מאמרו Amen. For those who are able, please rise for our baruch. Please be seated. We turn to our Shema on page 152. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Chant with me, please. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha. Beshinantam lebanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha u'b'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotavot b'neinecha וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We sing our Song of Redemption on page 158, Mi Chamocha. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
The top of page 161 in our prayer book. And please join me in this reading. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Our prayer for strength, or Hashkivenu 160.
בהקן פדינו, בהסר מעלינו, אויב תבל מחרב מרב ויגון, מהסר סוף rise for those who are able for our tefillah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ברופאי חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue the top of page 173, and please join me. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. We continue with Ritzei 174.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael תמיד אבותת ישראל ישראל עמך אל קרוב לכל קורא אל עבדך וחוננו שפוך רוחך עלינו ותחזינה עינינו בשובך Adonai, Hamachazir Shechinato
We continue the top of page 179, and please join me. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. Make contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Betov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. We take time for private meditation.
Say shalom, b'romav, uyaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'hakol Yisrael, ve'hakol yoshvei tevel, v'himeru. Say shalom, b'romav, uyaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'hakol Yisrael, ve'hakol yoshvei tevel, v'himeru. Say shalom, b'romav, uyaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'hakol Yisrael, ve'hakol yoshvei tevel, v'himeru. Shalom, b'romav, uyaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'hakol Yisrael, ve'hakol yoshvei tevel. Grant us peace, most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and let us say, Amen, Amen, Amen.
At this moment in our service, we take time to think of those in our community, those of need of healing of body or spirit. On the Shabbat, we think of Linda Applebaum, Cindy Silverman Bailey, Margaret Bell, Harold Seitlin, Deborah Chargois, Roger Collins, Karen Edwards, Emmeline Fries, Edward Goldberg, Barbara Goldstone, Josie Hatfield, Jack and Evelyn Held, Donald and Maida Himmel, Norma Jill Jacobson, Corey Kessler, Laney Klein, Bart Kolber, Jerry Lapidus, Jeffrey Muss, Leslie Simon, Liz Slive, Chrissy St. Charles, Brenda Weinstein, Joan Weisberg, and Carol Wright. For those with us this evening, if you are thinking of a loved one, a friend, and you wish to share a name out loud, we invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. For those names mentioned out loud and for those names that are still in our hearts, we continue with our Mishaberach 371.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
We wanted to do something special for Cantor Whitner's installation, as you can see with our videos that we've had. And normally, if there wasn't a pandemic or the end of a pandemic, we would be here celebrating from people all over the country. So this is the formal beginning of our installation service, and we hope these videos will shed light on our incredible Cantor.
Robbie, just wishing you a very hearty mazel tov on your installation tonight at Temple Emanu-El. They are so very lucky to have you there, and we are just so excited to see what you bring to that community. We will be listening and watching and wishing you many, many years there of joy, music, and peace.
Robbie, Cantor Whitner, I speak for your classmates, your friends, and your teachers at the Debbie Friedman School of Sacred Music in saying how proud we are that you have become a cantor in Israel and that you are serving our people with honor and distinction. And also in saying how grateful we are to know you, to have studied with you, learned with you, and to continue to call you friend and colleague and teacher. Now, on behalf of all of us on this day of commemoration, allow me to offer you a blessing for the person you are whom we have come to love, and for the cantor you have already become, and I pray will continue to be for decades and decades to come. I offer this blessing, words by Danny Siegel, with all of my heart. May your
Mazel Tov on your installation. I have felt so fortunate to have you as a classmate, friend, and now colleague. Birmingham is so lucky to have you. Sending so much love.
Hi, I'm Cantor Ellerin from Baltimore Hebrew Congregation, and I'm honored to be able to share some words of blessing with Robbie and Alex. Mazel Tov to you both on finding your new physical and spiritual homes at Temple Emanu-El. As clergy, we have the opportunity over and over again to bless with the words of the priestly benediction. And so on this occasion, I hope that you will enjoy a new setting that I wrote for you. Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom. Yai-la-lai, yai-lai, yai-la-lai, yai-lai, 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 yai-lai. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace. Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom. Yai-la-lai, yai-lai, yai-la-lai, yai-lai, 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 yai-lai,
Cantor Whitner. In Pirkei Avot 2:10, Rabbi Eliezer says, Yihi chavod chavercha chaviv alecha keshelach. Let the honor of your friend be as dear to you as my own. In this moment, as you are being honored and welcomed by our congregation, I feel honored to be your friend, to have been with you in Israel, to have spent all these years talking, to have become fathers alongside one another, to have gone on so many adventures together, and just to have grown together as friends and colleagues. I have so much respect for the intentionality and wisdom you bring to your work, and your amazing, amazing talent and beautiful voice. Best of luck as you continue to lead your people and our people. Kol hakavod, Cantor.
Shabbat Shalom and Mazal Tov to Cantor Whitner and to Temple Emanu-El of Birmingham. I'm so happy I could be here this evening to help celebrate you, Cantor Whitner, on the occasion of your installation. My name is Cantor Danielle Rodniski. I'm the assistant cantor of Westchester Reformed Temple in Scarsdale, New York. And having been Robbie's, Cantor Whitner's classmate throughout our time in the seminary, I know the many gifts that he brings, the sweetness of his voice, his teaching, his pastoral care, his education and life cycle officiation. He brings so many gifts, and I hope that he gets to receive the gifts of your community as well. I know the last 19 months have been really challenging for our country and for the world, and community is more important than ever. And so I hope that Cantor Whitner, you will help strengthen your congregation, and Temple Emanu-El, that you will help strengthen Cantor Whitner. This is Chazak by Dan Nichols.
We have come from near and far to raise our voice in song, and the more we join in the refrain, the more we feel strong. Be strong and let us strengthen one another. Be strong and let us celebrate our lives. Be strong and let us strengthen one another. Chazak, chazak, ונתחזק. Chazak, chazak, ונתחזק. As we sing, we link ourselves to those who came before, and we're one with all those yet to come. Our strength, it will endure. Be strong and let us strengthen one another. Be strong and let us celebrate our lives. Be strong, let us strengthen one another. Chazak, chazak. Be strong and let us strengthen one another. Be strong and let us celebrate our lives. Be strong, let us strengthen one another. Chazak, chazak. Be strong, be strong. Chazak, chazak, ונתחזק.
Torat Adonai temimam. Edut Adonai ne'emanam. Pikudei Adonai Yesharim. Mitzvat Adonai bara.
It's our pleasure to welcome our president of our board of directors, Mr. Robert Berman.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this special Shabbat service. If we had not had the opportunity to meet, I'm Robert Berman, president of our Temple's board of directors. During my term as president-elect, I had the privilege of meeting Cantor Whitner during the interview process. There was a small dinner held, and everyone in attendance felt that Robbie was the perfect fit for our Temple family. He was a young, soon-to-be ordained cantor with a booming, beautiful voice and an incredibly kind disposition. Our immediate thought was how Cantor Whitner would complement Rabbi Wright. I have said it before, and I mean it as much as ever. We truly have the dynamic duo with the two of them. In June of 2020, my wife Allison and I took dinner to the Whitners. At the time, we met Alex. Well, sort of, as this was during the peak of the pandemic, so a good old hug and a warm Southern welcome was tough as we delivered dinner to them at the doorstep of their apartment. However, when Cantor Whitner officially joined Temple on July 1st, 2020, Allison and I made certain that there was an Alabama hat on his desk. We wanted Robbie to get off to a great start. Then on July 4th, several congregants came to the top of the parking deck to watch Birmingham fireworks show. Cantor and Alex were there, and though I felt it before, I knew for sure we had hit the home run. A charming young couple ready to take on the world, exactly what Temple needed. I have to say I was a bit concerned when I learned that Robbie had never driven a car and therefore didn't have a driver's license. Unlike his New York home, our transit system would never meet his needs. Fortunately, we had a kind, generous, brave congregant that loaned Alex and Robbie a car so that he could learn to drive. To the best of my knowledge, that car went unscathed. Since that time, Cantor has filled us with song, led multiple students in becoming B'nai Mitzvahs, purchased a home, welcomed his first child, Jesse, all blessings indeed, and mazel tov to him and Alex. With that, I'll end with some Southern hospitality and say, Baruch Atah Haba Habitah, welcome home. Cantor, you and Rabbi Wright are poised to seize amazing opportunities within and for our temple and our community. Thank you in advance, as I know the best is yet to come. Robbie, will you come up? It's heavy. From our entire temple family, a collection of, it is really heavy, of, golly, I'm sorry, Adam. Torah commentaries, thank you, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Rob.
It's our pleasure to welcome Dr. Robert Levin and Amy Kessler. They were co-chairs of our cantoral search committee. Come on up.
Good evening. I remember the evening I found out we, Temple Emanu-El, would need to begin a search for a new cantor. With my husband off at work and our 3 children running around the house instead of getting in their jammies before bedtime, I decided to stop everything I was doing, sit down at my kitchen table, and immediately text Rabbi Wright. Our busy lifestyle seems to get in the way of me volunteering and helping out with the temple. However, this news really spoke to me. It really struck a chord. I grew up in Chicago, in a temple that was rich in music. My cantor filled the sanctuary with such a soulful warmth that anyone, no matter their age, listening would drop everything they were doing to take a moment and pause, maybe even to pray. It was beautiful, it was uplifting, and it was inspiring. I felt like helping in the search was a chance for me to bring to Temple Emanu-El a gift that I was so fortunate to have grown up with. I joined forces with Dr. Robert Levin as co-chairs for the Cantorial Search Committee, and together we built an insightful and diverse community, including Aaron Nelson, Andrea Haynes, Amy Alan, Alyssa Blair, Britt Zag, Billy Marsala, Barry Leibovitz, Eli Forey, David Askenazi, Glenn Fleisig, Harold Abrams, Joan Jacobson, Paul Masteler, Sharon Goldstein, and Robin Berger. Robin, we want to take a moment and mention how incredibly grateful we are for all of your time, energy, and love in helping to create the most incredible and beautiful application portfolio. In regards to transitioning the Whitners and helping to welcome them home in Birmingham, Ronnie Hess, you could not have been more welcoming, supportive, and helpful, especially during these challenging times that were filled with lockdowns and quarantines and social distancing. Thank you for helping to ease the stresses and unknowns that follow any move, especially one to a new city, and for your love and guidance. With all of the help and participation of so many congregants, it is clear to me that we truly have a beautiful Temple family. Robert, thank you for being my co-chair. It was such a joy to work beside you on this search. We, both Robert and I, want to extend a most heartfelt thank you to all of you who helped us on our journey to find a beautiful, uplifting, and inspiring cantor, Cantor Whitner.
Like Amy, I accepted a position as co-chair of the search committee because I knew what an important task this was. We tried to choose as diverse a group as we could for the committee, selecting equal numbers of men and women and representatives from every decade ranging from age 23 through 90, a total of 16 of us. So once we assembled our committee, we created an application. Once again, thank you, Robin, which was an extraordinary task. The committee members dedicated numerous hours of their time creating a document that described not only our congregation, but also our Jewish community, as well as the greater Birmingham community. Our goal was to read the applications that we received to try to determine if we liked the applicant first, without listening to the music. If we liked the applicant, we invited them to join us for a Zoom or video interview with the entire committee. If we were still interested at that point, we requested references as well as music samples. Once a candidate had a favorable application, video interview, references, and music samples, we would invite them to Birmingham for an interview. The interview was a very well-orchestrated 48-hour whirlwind tour of Temple Emanu-El and Birmingham, including exposure to as many people and groups as possible. When Alex and Robbie came for their visit, my wife, Faye, and I picked them up at the airport. Even though Faye was not an official member of the committee, it did not take her long to realize that Robbie would be a good fit. As I waited in the cell phone lot at the airport, Faye met them at baggage claim. Somehow, she texted me during that brief window while the three of them were waiting for the bags. Faye texted, "They are delightful. I think he's the one." Robbie quickly impressed those whom he met. Then it was time to go into the sanctuary for the committee to hear him sing, and that went, as you can imagine, extraordinarily well. He sang 4 songs for us that afternoon, and he had me at Rate a song he generally sings on Friday nights, including his beautiful rendition this evening. I remember asking our music director, Paul Masteler, what he thought, and he too was equally impressed. Our senior committee member, Hal Abrams, said, "Now that's what we are looking for." Robbie stood out. He was the only applicant to whom we offered a contract, and our committee voted unanimously to make that offer. So we offered this graduating cantorial student from the Upper West Side of Manhattan a contract, and fortunately, he accepted. Robbie, your beautiful voice enhances the spiritual experience at our services and life cycle events. We are so happy you are here with us. I would call the search committee process a true labor of love and very gratifying in the end. I thank all of the dedicated committee members for your time and your efforts, and I'm especially grateful to Amy Kessler, my friend, for her leadership and for being such a great partner in this process.
Thank you both.
During the search process, the three of us spent countless hours calling references from myriad of candidates that we were interested in. But at the time we got to Robbie, at the time he wasn't Cantor Whitner yet, I came across someone who was fascinating, genuine, and had a lot to say about our cantor, and that is Ralph Selig, who is Robbie's mentor. He worked with him for 5 years at Hebrew Tabernacle in the Upper West Side in Washington Heights. Now, I like to say that Ralph was also his agent. We spent countless times arguing about salary. We sparred, it was good, but we have also developed a friendship. And Robbie doesn't know this, but he came down from New York City and to be here tonight to watch his mentee just shine, and he has something special for you. And come up, Ralph. We had to hide it.
I have an idea.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I'm Ralph Selig. I'm a professor of mathematics and computer science at Fairleigh Dickinson University, and I'm also visiting professor of liturgical music at the Abraham Geiger College in Berlin, where I train, tutor, and work with future rabbis and cantors in Europe. I've also been, for 9.5 years, the president of Hebrew Tabernacle in Washington Heights, as well as the music director there for 11 years. I've known Robbie Whitner almost all my life because, what nobody knows in here, and you don't know this, Robbie's father and my mother worked together at an elementary school in New York City called PS 75. And my mother would always tell me, do you know Robbie Whitner? I said, no. He said, well, his parents are lovely. But I have to tell you how this all started. When I was president of Hebrew Tabernacle, we had a student cantor who couldn't make it for Shabbat. And the rabbi said to me, well, you know, I can't really sing, Ralph, and I don't want you to sing. Who are we going to get? So I thought about it. And at that time, I figured, how am I going to get somebody to sing and lead services? And I figured, let me coax Robbie by taking him to Hudson View Garden, and we had lunch. And as we say, the rest is history. But I want to get serious now for a moment. And I want to say it's to you. Don't cry on me. That's first and foremost. You've come a long way since we first started this. I remember you said to me with your googly eyes, I don't know if I really can do this, Ralph. And I said, sure you can. I'll play the organ. 2 negatives make a positive, and we'll be set to go. But I also learned something very quickly about you, about your singing, about your personality. You have a neshama and a kavanah that really helps us connect with our people. Your grandfather was from Berlin. My mother was from Berlin. I was very deeply moved how you really learned the melodies for those who could no longer speak from the Shoah. It meant so much to so many people in Washington Heights. I was very moved at your senior recital, how you managed the music of Emanuel Kirshner. And as I told you, we as Jews have an obligation to preserve a tradition that means so much to so many people. You are the voice for those who cannot speak. You are the voice for those who are living, and you are the voice of the next generation. And as most people don't know, I'm probably one of the world's leading authority on German Jewish music. But I collect the music, and that's the most important thing. Because if we want a tradition to live on, we as Jews have an obligation to respect and preserve the past, but also to bring it forward. You have my first edition Lewandowski books. You have a first edition Solomon Sulzer, and you have 3 out of the 4 volumes of Emanuel Kirshner, the second, the third, and the fourth. The first one was almost impossible for me to find, but somehow I was able, with the help of God, to get this. I'm presenting to you tonight. This is the first edition. This is first volume. And I wrote something in it. To Cantor Robert Whitner, may you be inscribed in the book of life for preserving a tradition which meant and means so much to so many. This book, which is being presented to you on your installation as Cantor, is very rare and has profound meaning to you. As someone who grew up at Hebrew Tabernacle in New York and experienced firsthand this tradition, may you be the keeper of this wherever you might be. Enjoy it. But I want to read one more thing. Don't cry on me. Oops.
I'm trying.
Every Friday night, every Saturday morning, Rabbi Jeffrey Gale would read this reading. And it's something that everybody, including you, should always reflect on. This is our home. This is our synagogue. Remember these words. May the door of the synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express hopes to nurture. May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May the synagogue be for all who enter the door to a richer and more meaningful life. As we say in German, vergiss nicht, du bist Oberkantor. Never forget, you are the senior cantor. And with that neshama and that kavanah, I know that you will bring the next generation forth. As we always say, L'dor v'ador nagid gadlecha u'lenetzach netzachim, from next generation to generation. The way we passed the Torah on, may you pass our tradition on, and never forget those who gave it to us. Shabbat Shalom. One more thing. P.S. This talit was worn by Laszlo Pastor. He was a tenor in Berlin. Not only do I collect books, I collect robes and kova. Those are the miters. But this talit came from Laszlo Pastor. He was also the Oberkantor in Berlin. And Robbie also believes very firmly in preserving the tradition as well. Shabbat Shalom.
I ask the congregation to rise as we turn inside to our pulpit folder as we officially install our Angle Cantorial Chair, Robert Whitner. We gather here tonight to mark the installation of Robert Whitner as our next cantor at Temple Emanu-El. We look forward to your inspiration and participation in our lives. We welcome you and your family to Birmingham and into our historic community to be our cantor and the cantor of our children. Our sacred literature teaches us, you shall teach them diligently to your children. The future of Judaism rests with us and with our children. Cantor Whitner, we ask that we may be partners in the Jewish education of our children, and that you help us to create for our children a future that we can all be proud. We are young and old. We are new to the congregation, and we are long-standing members. We celebrate simchas and console each other at our times of grief. We are a sacred kehillah, a sacred community. Cantor Whitner, we look to you to further the sacred work of Temple Emanu-El, to maintain the strength and vitality of this congregation. Hillel said, "If I am not for myself, who shall be for me? If I care only for myself, what am I, if not now, when?" Cantor Whitner, as a congregation, we also have a commitment to social action and tzedakah. We look to you as our partner in the work of this historic congregation, not just being a voice for Jewish Birmingham, but to continue to our committed duty to be a prophetic light to the city. Temple Emanu-El provides for us so many in such different ways, complementing and infusing our Jewish identity and Jewish practice. For others, this is a place to study. This is a place for prayer. This is a place for spiritual growth. For others, it is a Beit Knesset, a house of gathering in which to form and nurture relationships. Many find that Temple Emanu-El becomes a second home in which we rear our children. We come to sing, to work, to give, to love. For all of us, this is our place of connection to God, to our tradition, to the Jewish people, to the Birmingham community, and to each other. We will also connect deeply with you, our cantor. We will pray with you, learn from you, and be guided by you. With you, we will share our deepest sorrows and our greatest joys. You will help us name our children and bury our dead, and you'll provide a voice for us as we face life's triumphs and tragedies. May our connection with you be characterized by mutual respect, kindness, and generosity. Tonight marks the official beginning of our sacred relationship and partnership. May we and you, Cantor Whitner, become a blessing to each other. Mazel tov.
Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. Many clergy people would tell you that they've had a calling. And for some, it's literal, and others, it's mostly that when they were young, they wanted to be rabbis and cantors because they wanted to guide the Jewish people. My journey getting here has been a bit different from most. As a child, I wanted to be everything from a baseball player to an astronaut, to a doctor, and maybe most unusual of all, an actuary. It's safe to say that I had no specific direction I was headed toward that whole time. The one problem with intellectual curiosity, as I'm sure many of you know, is that it leads you in so many different directions. Heading into college, I made up my mind that I'd pursue medicine. But to let you in on a little secret, the only real reason that I did that was my favorite TV show was Scrubs. I didn't know what I wanted. I had no idea. I was in a choir for most of my childhood, so singing was something I had always loved, but it was really in college that it became a true passion of mine. I sang at every opportunity: a cappella, choir, chamber choir, barbershop, opera, anything I could get my hands on. So by the time I graduated, I had already made the decision that becoming a doctor was not my path. I just couldn't find the passion for medicine that I had for music. Thus, a change of course was needed. Luckily, two things fell into place. This is the other side of the story that Dr. Selig just told, but first I was approached by the president of my childhood synagogue in New York, Dr. Selig, and he asked if I would substitute as the cantor. He taught me what I needed to know on a technical level, but the most important thing that I learned when I substituted was the sense of belonging and tradition that came from sharing music with others. I hadn't been to services at Hebrew Tabernacle in years at that point, and yet I immediately felt connected again. The tunes of my childhood had stirred something within me. The second thing that happened is that I had finally reached the age, different for every person, at which identity and heritage become meaningful in a way that just cannot be explained. It's an innate human desire to connect to our past, and my yearning to do so came at the right time. I started exploring my faith, my spirituality, and while that was happening, I happened to be working a job that allowed me the time to contemplate my direction in life. While doing so, I kept coming back to an important lesson. Almost every child hears some version of it, but my parents instilled it in me as the centerpiece of being a good person. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's not the deepest piece of Torah, it's pretty simple, but it's the most important, as Rabbi Hillel taught us. After I substituted as a cantor, my mom told me that I had a wonderful disposition for the job if I wanted to pursue it. She said my voice would obviously help, but that my listening skills and empathy would be an asset that would go to great use as a cantor, suggesting that maybe the things that drew me to medicine in the first place could actually be used in another setting. And loving my neighbor, that's the job. Making people feel comfortable in their faith, allowing them to feel a sense of connection with something greater, that's what it's about. And while it took me some lengthy consideration, mostly wrestling with my own faith, I decided this was right for me, but it also would let me help others in a way I had never anticipated. Given my passion for music, love of community and Am Yisrael, and the sense of belonging that had been stirred within me when leading services, the choice seemed obvious in the end. I set off down the long road toward becoming a cantor. Fast forward 5 years through school, and here we are. My wife Alex and I are visiting Birmingham for the first time. We truly had no idea what to expect. We had heard a couple nice things, the community is kind, but it isn't until you've been here, until you've felt it, that you know that kindness. There's a love here that immediately drew me in. Southern hospitality isn't perfunctory. It's a code of life. I could sense the kindness radiating from everybody who showed me around. I learned all about the kind of philanthropy that this community is all about. There was an empathy that I hadn't felt so ubiquitously before. So Alex and I made a much quicker decision than we had anticipated. When we flew back to New York, we were both beaming. It was clear that even making a difficult move away from family was worth the shot. We're young, let's take a chance, we said. And when we arrived last year, it wasn't the whining and dining that were so wonderful, though of course we loved every meal we had with every single one of you. It was the desire to be a holy community that we sensed in every single person we met. The desire to help us or anyone out if it was needed. We unfortunately had to come down here during COVID, which obviously complicated things. But y'all made the effort to make us feel an important cog. A pattern was beginning to emerge. With the arrival of my son Jesse especially, we've gotten so many generous gifts. You've even made certain that a baby feels welcome here, that as he grows up, he has a whole village supporting him. That kind of love cannot be understated. And during this time of profound loneliness for many people, you made the effort to ensure that my wife Alex had people to walk with, people to talk with, people to confide in. I'm in the office every day. I experience firsthand all the things that make this community so wonderful. But knowing that Alex has been supported, that people truly wanted what's best for her, That's what made me realize I was home. I can see Jesse, only a sweet little baby now, growing up here and learning what loving your neighbor actually means. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. There will be difficult times, there always are, but I've seen during this time of COVID how even with all the restrictions, all the fear, you made the effort to engage each other. That's who you are, you can't help it. Kindness runs in the drinking water. Alex and I actually view our relationship with you here as beshert, as we traveled down to Alabama the week before everything shut down in New York. And if we hadn't come down here and felt that tangible kindness, we probably wouldn't have ended up here. And while being kind is always the most important thing to me, I've also seen how much this community yearns to learn about its Judaism. I've never really done adult education before coming here extensively, but I found everyone to be so genuinely curious, inquisitive, that it's been one of my favorite components of the job. I've worked with B'nai Mitzvah students who have been nothing but polite. Yes, sir, this. Yes, sir, that. I was so shocked the first time I heard it, I told him to stop, then realized how nice it was and told him to start doing it again. So, for a kid from New York City, that was the last thing I expected to hear. When my dad used to work at an elementary school in New York, his official title seemed to be Yo Mista. It's a little different down here. Everyone here is looking to better themselves, whether through study of Torah, temple circles, community outreach. Temple Emanu-El has such a long legacy of kindness, one it longs to pass Ledor Vador from generation to generation. In this week's Torah portion, Chaye Sarah, meaning Sarah's life, we learn quickly that Sarah has actually died, and yet the portion is befitting of its name, as her legacy is carried on through her child Isaac. That's what gives us hope, that we've done what we can to ensure our children and the children in our community are set up for success. And Temple Emanu-El has clearly succeeded in that light over the generations. There's something special about Birmingham, about Temple Emanu-El, and having worked here only a brief time, I know I made the right choice coming down here. From the warm welcome, to the homemade dinners, to invitations to family events, that would not have happened in New York, to periodic texts and emails, just checking in. We not only feel welcome here, but we belong here. With all that said, I couldn't be more honored and privileged to continue the musical legacy enabled by the Engel family as your Engel cantorial chair. So thank you to everyone who brought me here, from Rabbi Wright to President Berman, to President Cohn, and to Robert and Amy and the entire search committee. There are so many of you, I could not name them all, and I didn't want to get into a naming contest here. Thank you to the Grafman Endowment. You have all made this possible. So maybe my calling came a little later than most, but when Birmingham came ringing, we answered, and we're here to stay. Shabbat Shalom.
Keep on standing, 586. Elenu, let's go, Paul.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, מגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Max Beck Sr., Rose Belitsky, Martin S. Bergman, Julian L. Bernheim, Max Binder, Melvin Bluestein, Adolf Blutman, Charles Bry, Hans Kurgel, Mildred Cutter, Rosalie G. Danis, Maurice Davis, Joseph Engel, Carl M. Feldman, Helen B. Fierman, Fanny Fies, Alvin Victor Filer Jr., Tommy Gillespie, Harry Goldner, Nancy S. Goldstein, Eugene Goldstein, Sarah Halpern, Adolf Hamburg, Reuben Hannon, Florette Hirsch, Bernice G. Hirsch, Donald R. Kahn, Josephine Kaplan, Pearl Handler Kessler, Charles D. Klotzman, Edith Koretsky, Todd Corman, Israel Cronenberg, Erwin Ira Leslie, Nathan Levy, Annie Loria, Harold Marlowe, Mildred S. Marlowe, Bernice Marks, Gregory Mikeson, Terry Duckman Morgenbesser, Louis J. Otis, Faye Oppenheim Otis, Bernice Perlman, Claude Petrowski, Sam Bacard Jr., Jason Reel, Sadie Rice Rich, Alvin Rich, Rose Newman Reisman, Ruth D. Rosenberger, Chaim Rossner, Rosa Israel Sachs, M. Edna Schoen, David Schultz, Morton Simpson, Alan Sirkin, Milton Buddy Sturman, Linda Aylin Sussberg, Jenny Esther Weitrack, and our heartfelt condolences in the recent passings of Robert Fleischer, Shirley Ruth Singer Freerman, Marshall Goldberg, Fred Cantor, and Al Thomason. May all of their memories forever be a blessing. We rise together as a united congregation for Mortars Kaddish 598. Yigadal v'gadash shmei rabbah, bi'omad yivrach rotei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayachon uv'yomechon, uv'chayet kol Beit Yisrael, b'galah u'zman kariv v'yimru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei maya, yibarach v'yishabach hitba'ar hitromam hitnaseh, v'tadar v'talev v'talal shmei nekudsha. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushmechata v'nechamata, damin ram bi'oma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. We conclude with Ein Kelohenu 626. time.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.
Congratulations, Shabbat Shalom, and on behalf of the search committee, has a lovely gift for you downstairs as you exit Temple Emanu-El. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Thank you for joining us.